Hi all. Today's video is with respect to signal standardization in the context of automotive sector. So let me give you a small example. Think about this game Angry Birds. Most of you might have played this game. Now imagine that the Angry Birds game has to be deployed on two phones. One is a Samsung phone and another is a OnePlus phone. Now, without any problem, this particular application will run in both these different phones from different vendors. Reason being, they are using the same underlying Android operating system. Now, it doesn't matter whether it is the Android 13 or Android 11. The reason being the underlying signal specifications of the signals which this particular application uses, that stays constant throughout the lifetime of the application or throughout this Android ecosystem. So let me give you an example. So the way you basically call the touch point, or the way you basically call the mic or the speaker, is going to remain the same throughout the Android operating system. So that's the reason why, irrespective of the vendor, as long as he is using Android, doesn't matter mostly what version of Android. We are not talking about very old Android, but the latest Android operating systems. Now, basically, because of that, what happens is there is a easy portability of application from one vendor to another vendor. Now, as the Android operating system is not the only operating system, there is even an iOS Apple operating system, iOS and macOS. Now, because of which, what happens is the game developer basically he needs to make sure that he is in line with these two ecosystems where the signal specifications are different, but doesn't matter what iPhone you are using, still the signal specification stays the same throughout, very similar to Android. Now, why is this actually a big deal? Now, the reason I'll even explain you one small use case. Now, most of us may remember this Windows phone, which actually came. I don't remember the year when they actually launched. Now, everyone knows that the Windows Phone has failed, but there are many reasons for its failure. One of the main reasons why it basically failed is the app developers, they were not willing to spend the time and effort to port the particular application, say Angry Birds, from Android onto the Windows Phone, because even if they take that pain and even if they try to port it from one operating system to another operating system, basically what happens is there is no huge group of people who are basically using the Windows phone, because of which even if they spend so much time, the result which they will be getting from it is very low, because of which the app developers are not willing to move their games from one ecosystem to other. Means they were quite comfortable with Android and iOS. And now imagine about a smartphone which doesn't have applications, so people will not buy. So even I will not buy any smartphone as long as there are no apps, because once we get the phone from the Amazon or whatever, we basically install the apps which we want to use. Now, because of that, basically what happened is, as there are low number of apps, there were low number of users. As there are low number of users, the app developers were not willing to port their applications, because of which this is one of the reasons why the Windows phone was not a success. Now, imagine a use case in the automotive sector. Now, a person has to travel from point A to point B, and he is basically having low charge. He at least needs 20% of the charge to basically go from point A to point B. And if at all there is any because we are talking about the SDV ecosystem, where basically applications will be built by third party vendors, which will be deployed on the car. Now, say that there is one smart company which has come up with their own optimization application. Basically, as we know that there are many points where there are many units which basically consume a lot of power in the automotive system in a car, let it be powertrain or air conditioning or seating or whatever. Now, as this guy has to be go into a battery saver mode, so now this algorithm what it does is, now it sees that it sees the applications which are not that important, maybe the infotainment system or something else. So it reduces the amount of power basically that goes to that particular infotainment system, so that it can basically conserve power, so that the range is extended, such that the person who is in the car who wants to go from point A to point B is able to reach his destination and plug his car for charging, so that he doesn't have any issue. Now think about one smart company which has come up with this application which can do it for the car, and it works pretty well. Now we have these many OEMs already existing. Now, for some reason, for this guy, say he has built this application for Kia Motors, and now say Toyota is interested in this application. Now, what Toyota wants this particular company to do is to port that particular application onto Toyota's ecosystem, and say once that is successful, now say Mercedes wants it. Now he has to port it to another ecosystem. Now this will be a huge mess because we have n number of automotive players over there, and porting from one ecosystem to another ecosystem is a headache. So that will not, it will work, but it will be very very tedious, and it will be extremely tough to manage, because you will have multiple branches of these particular of the same application for different vendors, because of which it will be very very difficult to track and give the fixes also for the patches. Now, because of this reason, there is something called COVESA, where these guys are trying to have a unified vehicle signal specification across OEMs, so that the third party vendors, the app developers, they can port their application from one OEM to another OEM without any issue. So this is the main aim of COVESA's vehicle signal specification. Now, if you think that it has not yet come, actually Tesla has released its own API stack for developers to build their own applications. Now, so basically, these guys are trying to make their own app store, and they are trying to roll it out. I will give the link with respect to this in the description, where you can find the Tesla's API documentation, same way the Covesa's vehicle signal specifications. Please do have a look. Now the main idea is to have a unified naming convention across all OEMs, so that it will be very easy for the app developers to develop these applications, so that it can be used across OEMs, and the at the end of the day, the customer, the owner of the vehicle, have a good, he basically has control, and he basically has good utilization of the vehicle, whichever he is purchasing, irrespective of the OEM. Thank you all. Thanks for your time.